It is time for the Nebraska Dairy Update. I'm Chad Moyer. Today we're going to talk about a partnership between your dairy checkoff, Midwest Dairy, and Husker Athletics. Joining us today is Lisa Kopecky. She is Director of Performance Nutrition with the Husker Athletic Program. Lisa, thanks for visiting with us here today. Let's talk about the Husker training table. Tell me a little bit about what goes on there, kind of on a day-to-day basis. How many students do you serve? How many staff does it take to do that?
All right, Chad. Our training table is the primary resource for student athletes to seek out fueling options. I'm actually excited to share that as July 1st, we have another partnership going on with Flick Hospitality Group. They're going to be our new hospitality provider within the new Osborne Legacy Complex, where our training table will be moving. This partnership is dedicated to fueling Huskers with a custom performance nutrition program. We will be providing healthy, innovative meals with about 45 to 60 full-time staff members, and those individuals will be producing those menus and assisting the dietitians in providing nutrition education for all of our Huskers throughout the day while we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as catering services for our various recruiting events and meals incidental to competition. On average, we serve about 1,400 meals per day, and that's to our over 500 student athletes, staff, recruits, business partners, and various donors.
All right. Well, you talk about partnerships there. What about this partnership with Midwest Dairy? Tell me about that partnership and how does that kind of increased access to dairy products for these student athletes?
Sure, Chad. Midwest Dairy provided a sponsorship which allowed for a new menu innovation with pizza ovens in our training table. Athletes and other guests are able to make their own pizzas, flatbreads, and a variety of sandwiches, which has been very popular. Midwest Dairy also provided sponsorship for new refrigeration to keep our single-serving dairy foods such as milk, chocolate milk, yogurt, cheese, and cottage cheese cold and accessible to our athletes outside of meal times. This helps our athletes in being fueled prior to training and helps to facilitate recovery after training when maybe meal times aren't for another hour or two.
Something else I understand that's been started here recently is a podcast where there have been people that have been on and talked with registered dietitians and things like that. Tell me about the podcast. What are some things that you've talked about on there, Lisa?
Okay, so in 2023, the Performance Nutrition Department participated in a series of podcasts highlighting various nutrition topics of interest not only to our Huskers, but athletes across the state. Throughout this series, we shared how nutrient-dense dairy products contributed to building a performance plate by providing the macronutrients, carbohydrate, and protein. We also discussed how milk, specifically chocolate milk, is a great recovery beverage to replace carbohydrates or energy stores and rebuild muscle with protein after training, as well as its natural ability to aid in rehydration with electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Other topics we discussed were safe supplementation in a drug-tested environment and the effects of relative energy deficiency in sports.
Very interesting. So, what is going on with the what was going on with the current podcast? You know, how has it grown? How can people follow along? Things like that.
Okay, well, there's a little history here. So back in 2021, when Midwest Dairy partnered with Husker Athletics to launch the inaugural sports nutrition podcast, we did successfully complete 4 podcasts in that sports nutrition realm. And then the second year, the podcast was rebranded as the Husker Performance Podcast to expand the topic focus beyond nutrition. So the 5-part series explored many benefits of dairy for athletes, including leaning into dairy's message about immunity, calm, energy, and digestive health, and shared how dairy supports athletes beyond nutrition. Listeners learned how mental health, sports psychology, life skills, and sports performance all tie into the athlete experience. And the messaging reinforced all of these benefits of dairy with each podcast. Also featuring messaging around dairy's role in immune health, calm, energy, and digestion, a 12-part Healthy Habits weekly feature educated consumers on how dairy nourishes and energizes. These features aired on 24 radio stations and were streamed statewide. Comprehensively, this activation reached over 400,000 consumers.
Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time and visiting with us. Appreciate it very much, okay?
Absolutely, Chad. Have a great day.
Again, we've been visiting with Lisa Kopecky. She is the Director of Performance Nutrition with Husker Athletics. And again, talking about specifically that Midwest Dairy partnership with Husker Athletics. That is today's Nebraska Dairy Update. Chad Moyer reporting.